You are standing in your kitchen at midnight, and you hear it, scratching inside the wall behind your stove. A rat, maybe two, maybe more. You do not know how long they have been there. Pest control costs $400. Poison takes a week. Traps snap empty. Now, I want you to sit with this for a moment. That sound does not have to own your night. I have spent 18 years teaching households to end rats in a single application using 3 ingredients from your pantry. My grandmother did this work before me in her farmhouse outside Kyoto when poison was not available to her. By tomorrow morning, you will know the exact formula I use, how to mix it, and where to place it for same-night results. And stay with me, because near the end, I will show you the verification step that separates amateur setups from ones that actually work. Here is what you need to know about a rat's stomach. Unlike you, a rat cannot burp. It cannot vomit. There is a valve in its throat that seals shut. I check this fact every time, because it is the entire reason this method works. Baking soda is sodium bicarbonate, a powder you already own. When a rat swallows it, the soda meets stomach acid and begins a chemical reaction. That reaction produces carbon dioxide gas, pure gas, building pressure inside the stomach. The gas accumulates. The rat cannot expel it. The pressure builds until the stomach ruptures. Death comes from inside. No poison, no toxin, just chemistry. The formula is simple. 1 part baking soda, 1 part sugar, flour to bind it into balls the size of a pea. Sugar pulls the rat in. It smells like reward. The flour masks the soda taste. I mix mine on a clean plate, roll it between my fingers, and form it firm and dry. Keep the balls dry. Moisture triggers the reaction too early, before the rat eats. Small portions matter. A rat must consume enough soda to cause fatal buildup relative to its body weight. Now, placement is where most people fail, and that is the entire next step of the process. The location you choose determines whether the rat finds your bait tonight or walks past it untouched. Now you have your baking soda paste resting, and here is where placement decides whether you win or lose. I learned this lesson the hard way, 30 years ago on my family's property near Kyoto. I had the perfect bait. I placed it in the middle of the kitchen floor. Nothing. Not a single rat touched it for a week. My grandmother watched me, said nothing, then moved it to the baseboard. 2 rats were dead by morning. You are about to understand why. Because rats do not think like we do. A rat moves through your home like a blind person in a dark hall. It keeps one hand on the wall always. This instinct is called thigmotaxis, and it is hardwired into every rat that ever lived. Rats refuse open floor. They hug edges, walls, baseboards, pipes, fence lines, anything solid touching their body. You can see this instinct written on your walls right now as dark, greasy smears. Those marks are sebum from their fur rubbed over months of repeated travel on the same path. One path becomes a highway. That highway is where your bait must sit. Here is how I read a runway like a detective, and you can too. Get a flashlight. Look along the base of every wall in the room. See the dark, brownish-black streak about 2 inches up from the floor. That is a rub mark, a rat's signature, an invitation. Next, look for droppings. Fresh ones shine, wet dark, like obsidian chips. Old ones are dull and gray. They tell you when the traffic peaked. Now, follow the droppings backward. They lead to where rats sleep and eat. Within 30 to 50 feet of that nest, rats forage every single night. Along the runway itself, place your bait within 1 inch of the wall edge. Rats traveling that corridor will investigate what is blocking their path. The wall side placement is everything. It is not negotiable. But here is what separates amateurs from the people who get results every time. One placement catches one rat. Multiple placements catch the rest. Space them every 6 to 8 feet along the runway. Always wall side, always in shadow. Do not move them once they are set. Rats are deeply suspicious of change. Give them 2 days to accept the bait as part of the landscape. But that paste sits bare and vulnerable right now, and moisture is already working against you. Here is where the next step begins, the trick that keeps it potent for 48 hours straight. With the paste resting on your runways, the next move decides everything. You have placed your bait. Now it faces its enemy, moisture in the air. Wet bait crumbles. It loses its smell. Rats ignore it. I learned this the hard way in my first year, watching bait ball dissolve after rain. Here is what I do instead, and it costs almost nothing. I take a single sheet of washi, traditional thin Japanese paper, and I wrap each cluster loosely. Not tight, loose. The paper breathes, but it shields. 1 sheet per placement. That is all. The washi lets air move through. It does not trap condensation like plastic would. Trapped moisture kills your bait in 12 hours. Breathable cover keeps it live for 48. Now, I want you to understand why this matters so much. Your paste is already inside the rat's mind as a food signal. It has the smell, the texture, the color of grain. But if it sits wet and collapsed for 2 days, that signal dies. A rat walks past dead bait. It learns nothing. Your runway stays active. The paper also does something else I rely on. It prevents accidental activation. Your bait stays intact until teeth meet it. A child's hand brushing a wall will not compress your formula and trigger the gas. Only a rat's chewing jaw will break the paste down. I place the washi-wrapped cluster exactly where I marked it in Chapter 2, along the wall within 1 inch of baseboard, never moved. 1 sheet, 48 hours of protection, no chemicals, no smell that warns the rat away. By dawn of the 3rd day, something else happens, and that is where everything changes. Because here is the part that separates a lucky kill from a professional result. You do not check your bait at dusk. You do not guess. You verify. With the paste resting, the next move decides everything. You are awake at dawn. Still dark outside. This is the moment. Most people check their traps at dusk, right before the rats come out. That is amateur work. Here is why I never do it that way. Dusk tells you nothing. The rats have not yet moved. You see an empty zone. Dawn tells you everything. The full night has passed. The evidence is fresh. I check at dawn, 30 minutes after first light, every single time. My grandmother taught me this. She called it Ma, the deliberate pause to observe. Rats are most active between 11 at night and 4 in the morning. By dawn, that entire cycle has finished. You are reading a complete picture. Now, here is the part that separates amateur from professional. You need to see what the rat actually did in the darkness. Scatter a pinch of flour on the floor near each bait zone before bed. Do not touch the flour. Just leave it there. Go to sleep. At dawn, look at the flour under low morning light. The shadows show everything. Rat footprints appear as tiny parallel lines, smaller than your thumb. You will see them approach the bait, then stop, then turn away. That hesitation, that pivot in the tracks, is neophobia. The rat is shy of new things. It needs 2 more days to accept the bait. Not 1, 2. Now look at the droppings around the zone. Fresh ones are dark and moist. Old ones are gray and hard. Count the fresh ones. That tells you activity. 1 rat leaves 40 to 50 droppings in a night. Do the math. I also check for new gnaw marks on wood or baseboards near the bait. Fresh gnaw marks are pale. Old ones have darkened edges. Do not confuse them. And here is what most people miss. Look at the walls themselves. Grease marks from the rat's fur are invisible under indoor lights. But at dawn, with sunlight low and angled, they shine like silver streaks. They mark the exact runway the rat uses. That is your targeting data. If 0 new tracks appear at the dawn check, you are cleared for that zone. If tracks remain, the bait needs repositioning. The rat found a way around it. This is not guesswork anymore. This is feedback. This is control. You have just walked through baking soda chemistry, runway reading, moisture sealing, and now verification. 4 named ideas, 1 complete system. The next time you hear a rat behind your wall, you know exactly what to do. You do not call someone else. You do not buy poison. You use what you have. Would you try this method in your own kitchen? Tell me what you find at dawn. I read every comment, and I want to know what your flour reveals.